Clear all the extra spit. What's up, everyone? This is Press X Star Podcast, Season 5, Episode 29. Press X Star Podcast is an audio and video podcast seeking to transform the video game media landscape through an underserved and protected point of view. Restorative justice for the underrepresented programmers, developers, and consumers. Again, we say that all the time, and the industry just shows us how important that is. I am your host, DJ, aka Sexy Bad Choices, aka The Genshin Impacted, aka Did You Know? I got nothing. I was gonna do a Genshin thing, but I got nothing. That's me.
Boo. I am.
You know the
Sean
most.
MF. What?
Do you know that the most recent Genshin Impact character is voiced by popular Twitch streamer Lily Pichu, whom everyone might remember from all those Avengers ads? So
Really?
Who
yeah,
the fuck is it?
Look at that. I did not know that.
he just needed a fact. My bad.
Oh, that was great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I am Sean MF Ross.
What the MF stand for?
We got away with it.
Yes, we did. We'll do the AKAs and we'll do a quick story time.
No, I don't think we need to elaborate on track, but go ahead.
Actually, you know what? You're right. We're right. We'll do that off air.
It's your boy Jordan, aka AJ Xpod, aka The Last Reaper. Sure.
Ooh.
And the first Haber, I don't know what they call the characters in the Ascent, but some weird sci-fi bullshit they picked out of a fucking wastebasket of adjectives.
We can't use cyberpunk. What else can we use?
I know, they took all the good ones and produced such a poor performing game.
I mean, they had those from like 1970s, not like they took them recently.
True.
Mm.
True. Last up.
My name is Avery Williams, and it's all good.
All right. It's better than getting away with it. Or
Uh,
trying to get away with it.
Anyway,
Yes. With that being said, this is who we have for this cast, and let's do some housekeeping. So, two things. Again, we have this Palestine charity drive, and you can go donate at pressx2start.com/Palestine. And number two is we have a YouTube channel, and right now we don't have that many views. So if you're listening to this, do us a favor and just go watch the latest thing we have on there, and then watch the second latest thing that we have on there, then watch the third latest thing that we have on there, and then watch everything else. Please, thank you. With that being said,
Oh wait, DJ, how can they get to our YouTube channel? What's the link?
Oh my gosh, Jordan, why thank you so much. You can go to pressx2start.com/YouTube or go to youtube.com and search pressx2start TV. I think it's pressx. You know, it might be pressx2start TV, so 2 as in TO. Either way, if you go to pressx2start.com/YouTube, that's a lot easier. It will take you right where you need to be. So just do that. All right. With that being said, now we can dive into the heavy hitters, and Avery, take it away.
Okay, yeah. So I want to say a little background. I remember watching Kind of Funny ages ago, and Greg Miller not shutting the fuck up about a game called Gone Home. It was one of his favorite games. His big problem with that game was it didn't have a platinum trophy. Cool beans. Fast forward a couple years later, the team behind Gone Home, Fullbright, which was essentially like a 4-person studio, made their send-up called Tacoma. Tacoma had a platinum trophy. Tacoma came out on Xbox first, so no one touched it. Then it came out on PlayStation, and then people touched it to get that platinum trophy. That might not be true, but this is just my memory of it for flavor. But Steve Gaynor showed up on Kind of Funny to help Greg be the first person to get that platinum trophy. That was my first introduction to this creator. And he seemed like a guy who really fit into the San Francisco Kind of Funny ex-IGN crowd of that era. I never really thought of it, but I thought this is a guy but he's also the main writer of all the Fullbright games. So this is a guy who fundamentally has an interest in diversity and inclusivity and writing those type of stories because spoiler for Gone Home, it's about lesbians. That's what the game is about.
Yeah.
And Tacoma The Tacoma is about human relationships, and for the most part, they're all really well done. There's some interesting design problems I have with Tacoma, but ultimately, the narrative isn't the issue I have with the game. It's the way the narrative is told. Flash forward, they started working on this game called Open Road. I can't remember where they showed off this game, but Open
I think
Road
it was in one of the PlayStation State of Play things.
I think it was during E3, but I can't remember what conference it was showed off.
Oh, okay.
Because it's that game with Kerry Russell as one of the main characters about a mother and a daughter doing a road trip about their family's past.
That's right.
And I'm like, this seems like straight up Steve Gaynor's alley. This seems like straight up a game I'm going to be super interested in.
It was that Game Awards 2020.
Cool beans. So I was super excited for this game.
Mhm.
Wednesday night at, I want to say, like 11 o'clock, I start seeing tweets on my timeline because I follow a lot of people in the video game industry talking about events involving Open Road and its development. The main one being from Open Road itself, the Twitter, hey, Steve, there's, I need to find the exact quote because I want to represent it as full.
Mm-hmm.
Where is? Please don't tell me they deleted it. That would be really dumb. Okay, yeah, here we go. This is the quote that we got at like 8 p.m. on a Wednesday Eastern. So yeah, we are a small team passionate about making an inclusive, poignant, story-driven game that gives players a feeling of discovery. We care deeply about creating games that have a positive impact. We are also fervent believers in fostering a work environment that is healthy and collaborative, where we can work with transparency, autonomy, and trust. As such, Fullbright's co-founder, Steve Gaynor, the man I talked about earlier, has stepped back from his role as creative lead and manager and transitioned to a role as a writer, handing off day-to-day responsibility to the team to complete Open Roads. We're all excited by how the game is shaping up, and we hope you follow along as we continue to share our progress. So I'm like, what could happen in the studio for this to happen? Then I start seeing more tweets on my timeline of industry people talking about a story breaking from Polygon, which the title being how the founders' toxic culture tore apart Fullbright, the studio behind Gone Home.
Yikes.
And in the wake of the Ubisoft stuff, in the wake of our current Activision stuff, Activision Blizzard stuff, this was a gut punch as you go down this article. And I want to be clear, as of so far, no sexual harassment has been brought up.
Yeah.
About Steve Gaynor. However, emotional abuse and pretty much being a shitty manager is the name of this story. In that Steve Gaynor believed that Fullbright was him. As a creator, he thought the studio itself was him, which gave him carte blanche to do anything he wanted. And the most gut-wrenching, heart-rending part of this is that for a man who could write so many interesting stories about women and tell so many real and fascinating stories about women, he seemed to not respect them in any way, shape, or form, or take any of their opinions, their well-beings, anything into regarding anything he did. News came out that the publisher of Open Roads, I want to say Annapurna, was hearing that there was an unnecessary amount of turnout on a very small studio in regards to female employees. Investigation revealed all these issues in Steve Gaynor's part, in which at a certain point, hiring managers at the studio would warn women away from joining this studio because they didn't want Steve Gaynor to destroy their hopes and dreams of being in the game dev.
Yeah. Yeah. Like some of the women that was working there were also essentially like they left the company and they didn't pursue they didn't pursue another job in the game industries because of their time spent there.
This is just one, I think if there's any good from coming from this, this is a loose in an era, in a time where we're all being hyper vigilant of this type of activity, especially because the Activision Blizzard stuff is still ongoing and fundamentally still getting worse. This was the canary in the coal mine of yes, all game dev, in that it didn't matter that there was a big corporation or a small indie dev team. That these issues that are gaming as a culture are suffering are widespread throughout.
Yeah.
It's
essentially this is one of those things where last week we're just like, oh man, like Activision Blizzard is the shit show. And then I think we said on this cast is like they're not the only company. Like we've had examples before of the companies like Riot included, and now it's just like, oh, this is legitimately just everywhere. This is everywhere.
Here's a quote from the article saying from one of the employees at Fullbright saying, "How do we ensure we are creating an environment that results in women feeling respected? HR, accountability, training, something needs to change. We all have a part to play in creating a safe working environment. Change doesn't happen without discomfort." So that kind of goes back to the HR component of things. I think the HR system right now, or at least how HR professionals are being taught in schools, because they are masters, or doctoral students who can, get their human resource training. What they're being taught just isn't where it needs to be when it comes to this equity and fair treatment. Like it's still stuck in the 70s and 60s and 80s, 90s.
It's kind of weird to me. Like now that I really think about HR, it's strange that HR is, their boss is the same boss as the employee's boss.
That's
because
a hierarchy issue.
Yeah, like they're still, they're still under the eye of the company, like it versus it being like a third party thing where HR is a part of your organization but is not run by the organization.
Depending on the organization's size, some HRs can be over encompassing and be like they're like outside of that division or department as an arbiter. Like they have no relationship with the executive of that division or department. But I don't think this is the case in Fullbright. I think they're a fairly tight group of people.
Yeah. You gonna say something, Avery?
Yeah. To Jordan's point about HR, in the article, Fullbright doesn't have an HR department. They're too small of a studio to have an HR department. If there are issues within the company, they reached out to outside forces. I believe their Annapurna may have helped out in that regard. One of the more interesting elements of this article is that I believe the team who did that fucking that failed Battle Royale game, in which you're like being like it's like a television show that you're on and your people can watch and give you like power-ups and stuff. They're making
it's like Tower something, right?
No. They're making a brand new game which is in this sort of like I want to say twee open world aesthetic. I want to find the name because it links to this situation in that. Okay, so yeah, Scavenger Studios. They're making Scavenger Studios. They also had an op-ed about toxicity and how it affected the development of their game. And one of the female employees of Fullbright went to Steve Gaynor and said, "Hey man, there's a lot of what's going on in this studio that's going on here. We need to address this." And I think that was the kernel of where all of this blossomed out into a situation that we're all aware of and we all know.
But them not even having an HR system is fucking crazy. Like, how are they able to move forward as an entity without a basic HR system? Because without that, you can't properly convey benefits, health benefits. Like what type of organization was this to start with? If they didn't have an HR,
what benefits?
Fullbright started off with 4 people, and I'm not sure how big the studio is now.
That's still troubling.
Yeah. I mean, do we have an HR department? Wow, department?
Yes.
No, but we're not a like
you didn't get your packet?
LLC, like we you talked to
Fullbright has only 8. Fullbright has only 8 employees.
That's wild. Not even external arbiter either. Well, this is where you end up. You end up with stuff like this.
Jeez.
So we get a small business loan.
Small business. Yeah, like it's one of those things. I mean, we're gonna get into it in the quick hits, but like the only course of action now at this point is unionization, right? Because
it's a part of it. It's all what that looks like.
Right. The workers need to be able to communicate their issues to a body that's able to effectively, influence or effectively counter the higher ups at these different jobs or whatever, or these different studios,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because like
That's
what?
one of the original purposes of unionization. Unions led to workers' rights. It led to workplace safety because we have
Right.
entities that are mostly focused, if not exclusively, on profit. When it comes to a 5-day work week, when it comes to 40-hour work weeks or the weekend, that came from union.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like the existence of unions during our country's industrial era, but. Yeah. So when it comes to the importance of teaching, sexual harassment trainings or how to not be abusive or, collective thinking, more cooperation within organizations, unions would probably, or at least the game industry would promote that and not so much the bosses because here we are.
Right.
The bosses are not talking about it.
No. 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 They're just protecting themselves. It's. Man. There's not really much left to say on this. Anyone else got anything to say on this?
No.
No, I'm. This is, and Open Roads is still coming out. I'm still interested in that game. I am interested to see what's the future of Fullbright after this, because the only reason Steve Gaynor is still working on this game is because he's so integral because Fullbright itself is so small and he's legitimately so integral in the creation of their work that, like, to remove him at this point would to say we need to restart this game and or cancel it. So I want to see what the future of the studio is going forward, and whether, because this gets into an issue of auteurs and pretty much all art and what they offer for a project. The question is, does Fulbright still have the same entertainment impact without Steve Gaynor at the hand? And how far was his creative control in regards to their development?
That's a good question. That's a good question because I feel like in these situations, like what you're getting at is essentially, if they can exist without him. And it's it's one of those things where I want to say yes because oftentimes, a game is a product of the team, not just one individual, unless that studio is run as a dictatorship. But,
Hmm.
oftentimes a game that is created by a team that's, free to come up with ideas and free to think and think through ideas, that game is oftentimes better than the game that is just created by one person or just headed by one person.
Yeah, there are people that are critical to a game's design, and when they do leave, you would immediately see the quality of their work and go with
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
based on the quality of the final product because they weren't there.
Right. And like me personally, I'm just not familiar with Steve Gaynor's games to know exactly what his quote unquote style is, or if it's just the fact that he's broaching on stories that we just don't see, and that is just becoming his quote unquote style.
As someone who's played Gone Home and played Tacoma, his style is very much in his narrative, which are the strength of
Okay.
those games. They are
Yeah.
essentially walking simulators.
Right.
So him leaving is the narrative backbone of your game being ripped out. Mechanically, all of those games are very basic. They don't really do anything super interesting. I mean, Tacoma does some interesting things. That's because it's in an outer space environment, and you can do environmental stuff with that. But that's nothing that's not you can find in any other game in that environment. So it's one of this. I want Fulbright to be a studio without Steve Gaynor, but I'm interested in, because here's the thing: Fulbright games aren't best sellers. They're very niche. There's a reason none of you guys have played them, and I have.
Right.
It's just that, like, they don't outwardly appeal to most people. Especially once you learn the twist of them. Like Gone Home, everyone thought was a horror game until they played it and like, oh no, this is a narrative game about lesbians. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So like I'm my thing is that I'm very curious how, if Fulbright stays together as an entity after this, what they do going forward.
They gave it away as a PlayStation Plus game back in 2016.
Ages ago, and
Probably have it.
Well, here's the thing: we all have it. I know that for a fact because when I was on the podcast in the original time when it came out, I told everyone, "Hey, man, we should all play Gone Home." No one did, so I'm going to.
Well, they don't like downloading the PlayStation Plus games. I bitch about it every couple months, Avery.
That's true. That's true. Sean is very much so about making sure he downloads the stuff and tell us to download the stuff, even though we don't really listen.
Anyway, moving forward.
Yes. Yeah. So with that being said, it's shitty. Hopefully something good comes from this, and the industry as a whole will be able to see these shortcomings and just get better and be better. But until then, we will keep watching this, and we'll report on it. All right. So with that being said, we are going to we're going to have a word from our sponsors. It's us, guys. It's us. We're sponsoring ourselves. It's like we're pulling ourselves up by our own bootstraps.
As God intended.
I must have been incredibly tired during the bump that I did way back when, because I heard that. I think Marcus put it in a few podcasts ago. I was like, oh my God.
Really? Yeah.
Was I so tired? Maybe it was a drive. I don't know. I was tired.
Nah, I have the recording of when we all did the bumps. It's hilarious.
Yeah. We got to redo that at some point.
Should hope some caffeine next time.
Yeah, so I guess sponsor us, Sean. Marcus, you know what to do. You do the thing. All right, cool.
Julie.
Right. I know that reference now. And we're back. All right, DJ. Do the thing that you do. Sure can, DJ. What's up, everyone? This is the quick hits. Number 1, let's go. The Gamer. We need unionization, says ex-Blizzard dev and ArenaNet co-founder. So, responding to the explosive IGN article on Blizzard's accusations, industry veteran Jeff Strain, who joined Blizzard in 1996, shared that he was disgusted and repulsed, but not at all surprised. Jeff states unions were started in this country to protect workers from abusive, cruel, abhorrent, unacceptable, and illegal treatment from companies. This is kind of what Gordon, you were just saying. You're touching on all this.
Yes.
So
I studied that.
On top of his call to action, Strain shared his own reasons for leaving Blizzard over 2 decades ago. In 1998, Strain says that he and his wife had a meeting with one of the studio founders over their objections to the dismembered and impaled female body parts. I remember hearing about this. That featured in the Diablo beta. Yeah, that's great. This is one of those things where okay, so what are you guys' thoughts on this whole unionization call to action paired with the you know what? No, because that guy was trash too. The guy that said that he was the old head of Blizzard or Activision, and he was saying how this is bad and he wants to do everything in his power to help this. But that was the same guy that was at the con where the woman asked him about the women in their games looking like swimsuit models or whatever, and he was like, oh, what swimsuit do you want to? Yeah, that's the same guy, right? No, okay.
I think I don't think so.
Okay. Cool. Well, yeah, if that's the case, then I would definitely like to see, steps to this unionization thing taken and pushed forward. Hopefully by the end of next year.
Creating unions is hard.
Right.
It is a very hard and long process, especially in a country as diverse as ours, because there are states that have the right to work policies.
Maryland is one of them.
To which those workers do not have to be a part of the union if they choose not. They do not have to pay union dues. But there are states where, they allow for unions depending on which organization to enforce themselves, like not force, but to force and exist within the union by way of within the organization by way of dues. So it's just a very like maybe what these tech professionals can do, and I think tech is another barrier they have to kind of go over and like legitimizing themselves is associate themselves with like one of the bigger unions, like maybe SCIO, like the bigger ones, maybe as a pathway, like just go there and say this is what we do, this is how our work is, and this is why we're trying to be unionized, and but starting from creating a union from nothing is going to be more difficult than associating themselves with one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, I mean that is a good idea of just being like a subgroup to a bigger union.
Right.
That stuff is already like set up for them in a way. All right. Number
I'll
two.
be there at the picket line, y'all. I'll be right there at Bethesda and Rockville. Hell no, we will not go.
Okay, so this
coming
comes
for
from
you, Todd Howard.
This comes from Bloomberg. Blizzard president departs as game maker faces labor lawsuit. Oh, that's a
This is a big one.
Yeah. Blizzard president J. Allen Brackett. Brackett?
Brack. There's no ET. Brack.
Yeah, you're right. Brack is leaving the company amid a cultural reckoning at partner Activision Blizzard Incorporated. Brack's departure was disclosed in an email to staff Tuesday, which was reviewed by Bloomberg. Brack will be replaced by Jen O'Neill and Mike Ybarra, the new co-leaders of Blizzard. The shares fell 3.5 on Tuesday. The shares, 3.5% on Tuesday, which is that annoys me. Like, I hate the fact that these studios are taped together by like shares and shareholders. Like it's so annoying. It's really annoying. Like the fact that shares fell by 3.5% because it came out that Blizzard Activision was a horrible studio, and it's just like, man, I
mean, the stock market is gambling, so there's nothing really you can do about that. Like,
I know.
Any bad news is going to drop stock. Any good news is going to rise stocks. It's whatever. The more interesting thing about this, beyond Brack's departure, is what this means before the Activision Blizzard relationship. From what I can gather, and Jason Sauer did a lot of reporting on this, this is another bullet in the chamber of Bobby Kotick getting full control of this organization. And if you know anything about Bobby Kotick, probably not a good thing. If you liked if you liked how Activision has gone the road of, we are essentially a Call of Duty studio who maybe once every 10 years puts out any other game, as long as we can monetize it for a year-over-year thing. This, for the Blizzard intellectual IPs, this is going to be a very, very scary thing.
Yeah,
but that's neither here or there in regards to the actual impact of this on the people involved, which I don't know the exact details because I don't know anything about Ybarra or O'Neill. So I have no idea what their involvement in all of this situation has gone. Brack has essentially just been the lightning rod as the face of the company with visual evidence against him in regards to this toxic culture. These two could easily be just in line of being like, we're also problems in this, but I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Mike Ybarra is coming from Microsoft. I don't remember hearing too much about him over there. I don't know where he worked in Microsoft. He may have been with Matt Booty before Microsoft started purging themselves in the mid 2010s or late 2010s. But he's a he's a Microsoft product. But I'm not familiar with Jen O'Neill either.
Okay, did not know that. Huh. All right. Number 4. This comes from CNET. Take-Two CEO does not want new games on Game Pass. Take-Two CEO Strutz Zelnick, right?
Yes.
Views are unchanged and believes subscription services make sense of catalog games, but not new ones. He also questions if it's possible for everyone in the chain, developers, publishers, and consumers alike, to come out ahead. So he's kind of getting at the same thing that
Sony has been talking about for the last couple
Sony
years.
and the Sean Layden,
Yes.
right? Yeah. It's one of those. I don't know. I mean,
Without full transparency on Microsoft's subscription model and how it works, I tend to agree with his assessment, especially on seeing how the subscription model of a Netflix works and how the transparency on that works. Netflix is a money hole in regards to its corporate holdings, in regards to its business. They don't make a profit. They're successful, but they don't make a profit. I don't know, without, like I said, without full transparency on everything that Xbox is doing with Game Pass, I wouldn't know. But from especially on the magnum of games that Take-Two makes and the magnum of games that Sony makes and most big publishers, the Game Pass model is a gamble. Because it could work and it could be the most successful thing in the world, and like your answers are everything has changed, and the way you make games going forward fundamentally changes, or you just don't make profits. And an interesting parallel to this is currently in film, in that we're currently coming out of a period where a lot of films were doing, the pandemic is also involved in this, so that's the numbers are skewed, so I don't want to say that as gospel, but you get into things with like Black Widow is a great example of a movie that is successful. People saw that movie, it did well, but financially it didn't, and that's just the realism of its streaming subscription thing. It's interesting. Like, yeah.
Well, here's the thing though. For Game Pass, it works when you as a publisher are putting out games that may or may not be, I guess, quote unquote, AAA.
Yes.
Like also, if you don't have the name recognition kind of thing, other than EA and Ubisoft, I believe they're also I don't know about Ubisoft, but EA, like they're separate from all this. But like I just quickly looked up Take-Two Interactive Games just to see like what games they've been putting out, and no surprise, 2008 Grand Theft Auto 5, 2011 Kerbal Space Program, 2011 LA Noire, 2019 The Outer Worlds. That's it. Like they've been sustaining off of
Take-Two is actually a bigger
publisher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Well, no, I guess what I'm saying is that like them as a publisher putting their games on Game Pass doesn't make sense for them, because they're not, like, I think there is a headline of them putting out 62 games between now and 2024 or something like that. But like it doesn't necessarily work for them, because I don't think they need the name recognition all that much, because everyone knows them as GTA.
Okay, so yeah, it's from my general understanding, and someone check me if I'm speaking out of my ass. It's that I think the way a deal like Game Pass works is if Microsoft forks off enough money that in the case of it not going well, in terms of sales, you make back enough of your budget to make this a profit. Especially in the bigger the game being, the harder that becomes a thing, unless Microsoft is just willing to sell out the cash for it to be sustainable. For a game like GTA, which is sold GTA 5 has sold like over. I think the last number was like 100 million copies. No, it couldn't be. Yeah, I think it's somewhere around that number. Like, I don't think there's a dump truck big enough to roll up to 2K to say, put your game out on this platform for us.
Nah, for what?
We
GTA 5 sold 140 million copies.
Jesus.
There's the argument to be made that Game Pass will increase its visibility, but it's GTA. It doesn't need the visibility.
Yeah. To both your points, this is a case-by-case basis. Take-Two does not need Game Pass for any of their games to be successful. But nonetheless, it doesn't mean that Game Pass is not successful for developers. there's been time and time
yeah.
again, you had developers of various sizes coming saying that Game Pass has helped bring games to gamers that would have never considered them. Sega puts many of their properties on Game Pass, be it the whole Yakuza series. EA is partnered with Game Pass via EA Play, and smaller developers, and the succeeding story you're about to go to right now, have recorded profits while their game has existed on that on this platform. And the conversation of the money pit conversation, Microsoft's valued at $2 trillion. Like they have a clear, like it's all about the ability of them to do this because of all of the various pathways that allows it to exist. Now, when it comes to sustainability, if those pathways get cut off, then sure, Game Pass is in trouble. But until that point, money's clearly not an issue. And the CEO of Microsoft has been very public about their support of their Xbox division, specifically the Game Pass division. It's going to be very interesting seeing how Game Pass grows this fall when they expand to full-blown smart televisions without needing anything.
Here's my thing that now I'm just confused. The Outer Worlds 2 is going to be on Game Pass.
Yes.
And it's
because
also published by
Microsoft bought Obsidian. Obsidian was able to
Microsoft
retain the
owns the
rights.
studio. That's why.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay,
I think Jordan's point about smaller developers and its sustainability is something I don't want to go amiss in conversations about Game Pass. But I think my questions of sustainability is in regards to AAA sustainability. I could be wrong, but this isn't Sega putting out all their brand new games on Game Pass. This is Sega putting out their old games on Game Pass, which is out there by themselves. It's fundamentally probably going to be bolstered by them having a second avenue on Game Pass if it operates in the manner that we believe it to operate on. Same with EA Play. EA Play is the collection of it's the collection of their past content in its subscription model based upon that. It's not EA putting Battlefield on Game Pass.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Like my big fear with Game Pass, and my always big fear on Game Pass is that the structure in which games come out on there dictates the structure in which games are developed on there. Because I see it in Netflix, the way that movies are made for the theater are far different from when they are made specifically for Netflix. And I feel that if Game Pass continues down its route, the tenor of games that are going to be put out specifically for Game Pass as a platform are going to have to change. But that's only
may
conjecture.
go the route that movies go. Kind of like I saw. I don't know if y'all watch Hot Ones, but I saw a snippet with the interview with Matt Damon, and he was basically saying normally when DVD sales were a thing, they would greenlight certain type of movies. They don't greenlight anymore because they could afford to. All right, we're not gonna make as much money up front, but we'll make a big chunk on the back end with DVD sales. It's gonna be something similar with Game Pass eventually, with a lot of people saying that they're devaluing games.
They're devaluing games.
I'm one of those people saying that. I'm one of those people saying that.
I do not think they're devaluing games. Like there are still quality games coming out on there. You're trying to say that
Jordan, the question isn't the quality of the games.
Right now.
It's the perceived quality in the mass of that game. It's the conversation I think we had in our thing about what's the value of a $60 game if you can get that $60 game for free.
Or quote unquote.
Compared to the other pathways. Yeah, well, compared to the other because Hades is about to have its console release, and now there's multiple pathways to get Hades, but one is.
But yeah, but the one that's going to be focused. It's because I'm because Game Pass is still in its founding ground. I'm basing all of this on
5 years in.
Well, it's early. It's early. Well, Microsoft fundamentally people didn't really expect the Xbox till it was like 10 years in. So I'm taking this with a grain of thought. Like I'm basing all of my knowledge of subscription services and stuff, and we can move on to after this, on Netflix and things like that. And people, let's move on. Let's not belabor the thought. let's not belabor the thought. My bad, guys.
Oh, it was a good conversation. I was I was thinking of the question. What's your value of a game based off of the money? And that's an interesting question. And I think I don't know. I kind of find it. I find that very interesting because the two games that have my time right now are essentially free games, and it's also a thing where like you can spend. They're both free to play.
Super
They
monetized.
have they're super monetized, but it's one of those things where it's just like for me, I always think of it as you find value in the thing that you find valuable.
Mhm.
So it's not necessarily how much money you're paying for it; it's if you think it's worth it. I think when it comes to Game Pass, like I don't know if X game can be on Game Pass, and it's just like, oh, you can spend $60 on this game, or you can buy it on Game Pass. You play the game, like, oh, I really love this game. So it doesn't really necessarily matter. I guess the only difference is that person may have not paid $60 for that game
The question,
before.
the question is, would they be willing to pay that $60? And if the
Right.
question is yes, then the value of this game is $60. But it doesn't change the fact that you can quote unquote get the game
free
for free, and the narrative on that game is its freeness going forward.
Well, and also Game Pass is helping out households too. Like gaming is a very expensive habit. Like it's just
That's also true.
I haven't gamed this much in a long time because of Game Pass. Because I just don't like. There used to be a time when I was in high school, and I'm like, I can't buy a game if it gets below an 8.0 in terms of IGN score or whatever gaming article magazine I was looking at. Because I just could not risk wasting my money, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Even though Ratchet and Clank was a proven product. I went there. I bought that shit in day and date to my app.
Right.
But there is an accessibility component that
Yes, the accessibility that can't be argued. But that can't be argued. No.
All right. So I actually skipped 3, so I'm just gonna jump back and do a 3 and make that a 4, and it's gonna be confusing for no one except for me. From Washington Post, amid harassment lawsuit and advertisers pull back from Blizzard's Overwatch League. So Coca-Cola, Kellogg, State Farm, and T-Mobile are reassessing partnerships with Activision Blizzard's Overwatch League, according to statements provided by all 4 companies. There's more to this, but we're just gonna jump. We're gonna jump to the next one. But yeah, they're reassessing their stuff, which is kind of makes sense.
No, it's good. Financially, this is going to hurt us. My only hope is that the esports athletes involved in this don't get fucked over by this, because esports is not profitable at all. And so,
did you know the Kellogg's? Did you hear about this? Did y'all know about this Kellogg's cereal? This is something I promise you I did not look up. I just knew it in the back of my head.
It's the thing about masturbation in kids.
Yes.
Okay, then let's move on. Let's move on.
Wait, no. Now that you said it, I have to finish it. So the Kellogg's cereal was actually created by Kellogg's or whatever, and this guy was just a crazy guy, and he was like, I'm gonna create this cereal to stop kids from masturbating.
Okay.
As a deterrent. Because surely you ought to be eating some Kellogg's fucking cornflakes instead of.
Mind you, this was cornflakes at the time, not Frosted Flakes. It was cornflakes.
Yeah, right.
Surely you want to do this instead of sitting.
Yeah.
You can be made about Frosted Flakes, but cornflakes, guys.
Right.
And making crusty socks. But all right, go ahead.
That's terrible. That's weird.
All right, yeah, it is, right? Number 5. This goes for Xbox era. The Ascent made $5 million in opening weekend sales. This actually goes into the conversation we were just having. So, publisher Curve Digital, for publisher Curve Digital, it was the highest grossing opening weekend for the game, or for a game ever, citing a AAA level of coverage by media and influencers as one of the reasons for success. The Ascent has been positioned by Microsoft as one of the highlights of this summer, as the title is part of Xbox Game Pass.
One thing, there was an adjacent article that went into this in better detail, but it was just talking about how groups of gamers and gamer friends will have multiple avenues or like preferred platforms. And what had drove the Ascent success was the PC platform. Though there were people playing on Xbox One, Xbox Series systems, they had friends that preferred playing through Steam. It's like that weird word of mouth dynamic hit this game, so which probably could impact other games in the future that are cross-platform, but available via Game Pass. So that's to be determined. But this is an instance of it.
Let's see.
Okay. I got a text message. I was making sure it wasn't like, oh, the baby's
Baby's flying. Baby's
right. Oh, I guess I got to pause the podcast. All right, number 6. This comes from Core Xbox. Xbox announces $15.37 billion in revenue. Xbox Game Pass application has a large share in increasing sales. This is the best year Xbox has ever had. Cue Drake line. Moreover, not only the software side,
2018 much,
but also the hardware sales side has broken records, just like the Olympians. Nice.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. It's yeah, I don't really got much to say about that, but that's awesome. Not to denigrate it. It's just good. It's good. It's great. It's awesome. All right, number 7. This comes from VG24/7. Halo Infinite Datamine reveals Battle Royale voice line. So the Datamine clip is similar to existing voice lines from various other games, such as Slayer, or game modes such as Slayer.
You gotta do the voice, Slayer.
Given the nature of this clip, it could be a indication that Halo Infinite is getting a Battle Royale mode, or was at some point. We'll see.
Only if it works. Only if it works, because Call of Duty Warzone didn't come out until 4 or 5 months after the original release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and they already had some experience with Black Ops 4.
I'm about to say, yeah, Call of Duty Warzone never existed before Black Ops Battle Royale thing. Blackout, yeah. So it's just like, I don't know. It's I have my own feelings about Battle Royale just
don't
as
force
a whole.
Yeah, that's my take. Don't force it.
I don't want to jump the gun, but I kind of feel like it's at the tail end of its lifespan in terms of newer things coming out and breaking that mold.
Yes,
because Battle Royale has been refined to such a point right now that it's just like,
what are you gonna throw in there?
What new are you bringing to the table? What new are you bringing to the table?
Right,
like you saw that failure that is Hyperscape.
Yeah. That's another thing.
This goes back to a conversation that we had ages ago on this podcast. I think this is back during Call of Duty, and I was wrong at the time, but I still think the conversation holds up now. Is that there can only be so much bandwidth for Battle Royales at the time. Back then, it was PUBG, Fortnite, and then Apex Legends at the time. And my argument was that I don't think I can't think of if I was talking about Warzone or Blackout. Probably talking about Warzone could break, or I just Call of Duty in general could break that mold and be a pillar. It succeeded, and so I was 100% wrong. But I don't. Yeah. But I don't think a Battle Royale limited to. Well, it's one of those things you'd have to see, and they would have to literally do something new other than just it's a Battle Royale in Fortnite.
Yeah.
Don't.
Not Battle Royale in Halo. My bad.
Yeah. Don't. To Avery's point, like, just don't force it. Make sure it makes sense. Like, they have vehicles, they have they're used to open areas, but make it make sense.
Yeah, Battle Royale in Halo makes complete sense. I think what screwed them was when they came out and was like, "Oh, the only BR in our game is a battle rifle." It's just like, you didn't need to say that. You could have just been like, "We're not gonna do Battle Royale," and just keep quiet, and then maybe you change your mind later on. But like, you put that out there, and it's just like, "Oh, so you guys are gonna do Battle Royale now? But what about the whole BR comment?" But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Your Twitter personality? What was that?
I don't normally break that out, but having a good time. So, all right, number 8. This comes from a VGC. Sony says it's not worried about a recent dip in PS Plus and active users. That's because everyone went on vacation in August, so that's what happened there. So in the company's Q1 financial results published on Thursday, which cover the 3-month end June ended. Oh, there's an ED at that. Ended June 30th.
That's like from April to May.
Yeah. Sony reported total PS Plus subscribers of 46.3 million, which is up 1.3 million year on year, but down by over 1 million compared to the two most recent quarters.
I say that's just a big spike, and a big spike when everybody was home and everybody's back out doing shit. I mean, it says
Right.
as much in the
Right.
article.
Yeah, Xbox also saw a dip in services in their services division too. I mean, people they're lifting the restrictions. People are going to bars now. I'm not going to bars, but getting out more. I'm not in my house all the time. So yeah, we're gonna see how this upward trajectory in video game purchasing continues throughout this year or next year or for the next 2 years.
Right. And it's one of those things, it's like, yeah, it's down, but this is also PlayStation, and essentially they're good for it, I guess. I don't know. It's one of the things like, okay, cool, that's the numbers, but that doesn't necessarily, that trend isn't a
If it was a
predictor of the future.
if this was a multi-month trend, then I'd be this is a conversation that should be talked about. But
Right.
1 month, yeah.
Right. And number 9, this comes from CNET. Sony's next-gen PSVR 2 headset looks like to have HDR OLED displays. That's a bunch of capital letters. Let's go. So, according to a YouTube report by Brian Paul of PSVR Without Parole, that's an interesting name. The PSVR 2 headset will have an OLED display capable of HDR. The 2000 by 2040 pixel per eye display, I think that number is on par with the current VR headsets right now. That's why that number is actually important. We'll have eye tracking and technology to deliver higher res graphics onto the display, which is less processor strain. So that's pretty cool. One technology called foveated rendering.
Foveated rendering.
Okay. Uses eye tracking to deliver a high resolution just to where your fova is focused. I don't. What kind of word is that? Ugh, terrible. The other flexible scaling should also assist on the PS5 hardware end. That's pretty cool.
How much do you think this is going to cost? 400? 300?
Probably around there. It'd have to be on par with the Quest, at least the low end Quest. Yeah, I don't see.
Yeah.
It's essentially a separate console platform, so this seems about apt.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna wait on this one, because just getting the PSVR, it's like, yeah, this is cool to kind of support it, but Astrobot Rescue Adventure was the only thing that was worth. Actually, no, the Iron Man VR thing.
No, they had a bunch of interesting games. They didn't have a lot, unfortunately, and I think that's just the nature of VR development and the limited limitations of the PlayStation VR in general. And then, frankly, the VR at its height is going to be PC because of how easy it is going to be to get that. But yeah, I enjoyed my time with my PSVR. So I'm super excited to see this, especially since they're going with the Resident Evil 7 model of development, in that they're going to have more games that can be played in and out of VR and are not just only VR. Which essentially,
I think that's going to happen to Astrobot too.
Yeah.
You make a good point about the new development cycle for these games, where it's going to be either play to VR, play down VR, and I have a feeling that Moss 2 is going to follow that same path as well.
I don't think so. I think an integral part of that game is you being in the game and being able to move around that environment, and I think that would be a little bit more awkward on console. Yeah.
Okay. We'll see.
Moss is great. Everyone play it if you have a PSVR.
That's something that I have, and I just hadn't
Yeah, they gave it away for free a couple months back.
Yeah.
I just haven't hooked up my shit.
Yeah. All right. Well, that has been the quick hits, and now it's time to wrap this podcast up with what we have been playing. So, Sean, what
Mm.
have we and you been playing?
You
Well,
and I.
first off, let me just knock this out of the way. I finally finished A Plague Tale: Innocence. I was on the final battle, went back and finished it on the second or third try just because I had to remember what the hell the controls were.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife just swears she's the expert at gaming now because she backseat drives. You gotta move over there. You gotta. I'm like, yo, give me a second. I gotta remember what the hell everything does.
That's
Or
awesome.
yeah, she'll critique my gameplay, and I'll be playing Spelunky, and she'll be watching. We have 2 TVs in the bedroom, and she'll be looking like, "Why the hell did you do that?" Yeah, but
is she like giving you commentary from the bed?
yeah, because she can see my TV from her bed.
That's hilarious. Oh,
She's like,
man.
"That was dumb. Why'd you do that?" I'm like, "Yo, I don't need this." But
you know what? I'm putting a curtain up.
I played this game along with DJ Hunter's Arena Legend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know this was a battle royale.
Oh, really?
No, I didn't know.
You were watching the PlayStation showcase with us.
I must have zoned out. Hey, I have this thing. Hey, I could be having fun and be bored at the same time. Like I'm just
fair play.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. The game is interesting.
Yeah.
It's not terrible. I really wish that what's the word I want to use? More responsive? I don't know. Am I making sense, DJ?
Yeah, you are. You're nailing it.
Or maybe I just have to learn the controls. I don't know. Something feels off with this, and I can't quite put my finger on it. It's kind of fun. This almost feels like it should be free to play. Is it free to play?
It is free.
People...
Well, it's free on PlayStation. It's like $20
but I mean,
outside. But that's actually a very interesting part of the game because there are characters that you have to. There's a store in the game, and there are characters that you can buy. So for the fact that it's $20 and then it has characters you can buy is kind of not sitting right with some people.
I wonder what the player base was looking like before this was offered free.
I mean, the game just came out. Oh no, actually, it didn't. No, it didn't. My bad. I'm looking at the wrong thing. It came out a year ago.
Yeah. So
I'm curious what the user base was looking like before it was offered free.
Yeah, so I will say that like I did some digging to find out. I'll let you finish, and then I'll jump onto the game.
I mean, I'm finished. I mean, we played, we got waxed, we cried.
We wept.
Okay, in the last 30 days, its peak players were 193 on Steam.
That sounds
193.
193 players on Steam.
Where's that comma at?
Its peak highest number was July 2020. Its release at 1,072 players.
Okay, I would imagine that with it coming to PlayStation Plus, it's probably around
that good old Game Pass shop form.
It is on Game Pass actually.
Oh, really?
And a DLC.
And there's crossplay that's enabled in this game, which is good.
Yeah. It really needed that. But I mean, I think it's filled with bots otherwise because I couldn't tell.
Yeah. So
I didn't realize I was playing against somebody until I started beating their ass and they ran away because they were down to a sliver of health.
No.
Wait, come back here.
That's a good indicator.
And then I killed them, and then I guess their teammate retaliated because I had no idea what the hell how to, defend myself.
So okay, so I'll give you a quick rundown of Hunter's Arena Legend. That name is weird. So basically, this is a battle royale game. The spin to the battle royale format is when you get into the level, there's also NPC characters on the level that you can fight. So you fight those characters. It will slowly build up your character so you become a stronger character. So whenever you have to fight people, You're not necessarily at the same level because you have equipment that you can do. You have
Mm-hmm.
items and stuff that you can attach to your character essentially. The actual aesthetic of the game is like Chinese mythology looking because they have
I believe
This
it's
looks like
I believe it's
this
Korean
looks like
actually.
Wukong.
is it Korean?
I believe it's a Korean developer, so I'm assuming it's Korean.
Oh, okay, yeah,
That's
you're right.
Korean
You're right.
aesthetic.
Yeah, they
This some
have
Black Desert / Wukong looking game.
yeah. They have the Monkey King. What's his face? Son Goku. Is it Son
Son
Goku?
Wukong,
Son Wukong. There we go. Yeah.
or you can just call him Goku.
Yeah. But he is actually a paid character, so you have to either collect enough coin or just buy that character outright. In terms of the combat to the game, the reason why I was interested in it was because it was a third person, like kind of fighter type game. I was like, "Ooh, that's cool in a battle royale setting." I don't think they necessarily executed on that too well. I played the tutorial mode. Everyone has to play the tutorial mode. I went back and did training, and there's a counter in the game there's two counters in the game. There's one counter where it's like a block and you press a button counter, and then there's like a win counter that you can just do anytime, and it's on a cooldown. The first counter, I don't know how how to actually do it in game, and that kind of speaks to the game itself. It's there. The game is the combat is very deep, but it doesn't really explain a lot of stuff. So you're left to figure it out. And for me, it was fun to play, but not necessarily something that I see myself putting time in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It's what else do I want to say about this game? The first, like after doing some training, I went into the battle royale thing, and I had a pretty good time. It was a solo mode, so everyone was just fighting each other. I killed about 10 people, and it was one of those things where after doing the training, it's like, oh, you can tell this person hasn't done the training because this person doesn't know how to lock on. This person doesn't block. This person is allowing me to do air combos on him essentially, or on them essentially. Yeah, and it's just like, okay, you see it, but then when you run up to a person that does know how to play, it's a completely different experience where it's just like, all right, they're guard breaking, they're launching me in the air, and there's this stuff happening, and it feels. I think there is a bit of balance that needs to happen in the actual gameplay department in order for it to really feel good for people who are experienced and also new players. Overall, the game is fine. It's interesting, but they made the right move by putting it on PlayStation Plus versus just releasing it to the wild at $20. But yeah, that's what we've been playing. That's what I've been playing. I don't necessarily know if I'll be going back to it, mainly because I am doing other stuff, like playing Genshin Impact, and I'm having absolute blast for this game. We talked about it off cast. Like, Genshin is a game for me where if I'm in the mood for playing it, I will have a great time. If I'm not in the mood for playing it, we'll just play Gundam. And right now, I'm in the mood for Genshin, and there is a lot of content that I just was not aware of. So the reason why I jumped into this is because they were running an event where if you reach a certain point in the campaign, you can participate in the event and you have the ability to unlock this character that a lot of people like. She's like a really powerful character. But you just do an event, you can just essentially you will get her if you participate in an event. So when I jumped into the game, I realized, oh, I'm actually really far like back in the story because a lot of stuff like came out. So I've been playing through the story, and it's just like this is a really good game. Like there was points where I'm just like, oh, that's a funny joke. Like I'm just surprised by the overall writing of this game. And generally that's not something that I really pay attention to.
Yeah.
And I think there's just a lot of little things that this game does to make sitting through their voice their dialogue back and forth like more appealing essentially. Yeah, so I'm having a good time with that. Last game, me and my wife played a little bit more of It Takes Two. This game, I like it. I think I wonder if there was more co-op games, how high would this rate? Because I think because it's a co-op game, a lot of people give it more space than I'm not sure it necessarily deserves. I don't know. I'm still finding my place in that game. I'm still finding where I'm putting that game in my spectrum of games.
I am currently playing this game with my other half, Marcus, who has deserted me. So that's the thing I'm dealing with.
Mhm.
But I think that's an interesting point. However, we need to talk about what a co-op game is. I think the magic of It Takes Two is it's not just a co-op game. It's a co-op fighting game. It's a co-op Diablo game. It's a co-op shooter. It's a co-op platformer. It
Yes.
messes a bunch of interesting genres to break up its general co-opness. It's always doing something new. I'm always genuinely surprised by it. I think it's Joseph Ferris and Haze Light do this with their games. Like A Way Out is just like this. But I think this is because of the nature of this game, it gets to do it in it gets to take the brakes off the car, essentially, in that it goes full tilt with this.
Yeah. So I think that's where I'm kind of having the problem with it going full tilt is like we're still some point in the whole squirrel and wasp thing. And we reached the point where right now, of course, Shireen is playing as the wife, I'm playing as the husband. And one of the mini boss fights involve you dealing with like not the shield wasp, the mortar wasp. And we ran into an issue where, because she has she has the weapon that does damage, and I have the weapon that essentially can buff the damage. When she dies, or like she happened to die, like the honey,
Yeah,
like,
the honey
sits
gun,
on
yeah.
target. Yeah. When she happened to die, and it was just me and the mortar thing until she came back, and I realized like I'm useless right now. I'm useless until she comes back because the honey thing
that's just how
doesn't
it is
do.
in marriage, DJ. Trying to teach you life lessons.
But the honey
DJ,
thing
it
doesn't
takes
do any
two.
damage. Well, yeah, it does. It absolutely takes two. But then it doesn't because if I die, she's able to still do damage. So she can still complete the thing. But for
That's
me,
fair.
I can't
That's
at
fair point.
all. So it was just kind of like, this is weird. And then we also ran into an issue with the, I guess,
It
area
sounds like
after
DJ
that.
is against woman empowerment, but go ahead.
I'm against WASP empowerment. You said it right here. Breast Exercise does not support
White
WASP.
Anglo-Saxon Protestant.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Wait. I mean,
I feel like my words have
It's
been
called-
taken against
I want to say to be literal wasp or the acronym.
the wasps that fly around.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'm just glad he doesn't have a problem with Jewish American princesses.
Oh.
Go ahead.
That was funny. But yeah, like I'm still just finding my place where I see that game. But yeah, that's been what I've been playing. Avery, you had jumped. So you can go ahead. Say what else you've been playing, Avery.
Okay, yes. So I in my weird melange of games, I jumped back into two BRs essentially. The first is Apex Legends Season 10 Emergence. It's their biggest update yet, and when I say biggest, I mean like the last one was huge. Arenas was a big thing that got a lot of people back on the train, but in a way because the game Warzone is dying right now, everyone who's playing Warzone has jumped onto Apex. So suddenly it's the most popular thing in the world right now, which is insane. It's insane because
I hate that.
How's that?
I said I hate that all the sweat now.
Well, well, we technically have the advantage because they've been playing a game with such a low TT, such a high time to kill that they aren't prepared for actual tactics in the fight.
Just getting fucking melted.
If they can't hide in the bush and wait for you to like walk by and shoot you once and win, then they ain't ready for the smoke. Especially with all the wall hacks in this game. So in all the positives of this season 10, we introduced a new character, Seer, who is
you mean Lil Nas X?
Yes, yes.
Basically.
I'm very curious on what's going to be the legal repercussions of the introduction of this character is going to be. Anyway, Seer is really cool, but he suffers from the same problem that every legend over the last several releases have, and that he does way too much, and he's sort of breaking the game. Like the season 1 legend, Wraith. She can teleport, she has a phase, and she can hear voices. That's it. Seer in one ability has a flashbang, wall hacks, does 10 damage, and can inflict a silence on you.
And he can see your health bar.
And see your health bar in one ability. That's just one ability that he has.
That's wild.
At the low level, he's annoying. At the high level, he is cancer to the game. And Apex needs to really change the way they develop characters going forward because it's unintenable. Like, there was a big problem with Bloodhound over the last couple of years, not a couple seasons, and instead of like dealing with the Bloodhound issue, they essentially created Bloodhound on crack with Seer, and it's kind of not fun to play or watch, actually. I'm not really enjoying my time playing it because Seer's in the game.
Dang.
And you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Like with Bloodhound, I got scanned. Okay, I've learned how to deal with this. With Seer, it's like I got scanned. I was at 10 health. I'm gonna have to be at 10 health for the next 10 seconds right now because he interrupted my heal. He knows where I am. He did another 10 damage to me. I also can't see. I'm dead now. Season 10 emergence is. I'm hoping this new attention they're getting from the big streamers forces them to actually get off their ass and do some hot fixes real quick for the health of this game. Then it's funny. Courage, a member of one of the owners of 100 Thieves, has been recently playing Apex because of Warzone, and he complained once, and Apex on Twitter was like, "All right, man, we got you. Next patch." Meanwhile, everyone else who's been playing this game is like, "Hey, yo, man, this has been a problem for like 3 seasons." It's silence.
Popularity.
So, and the next thing I've been playing, I jumped back into Fortnite for the sole purpose of the Ariana Grande Rift Tour concert that just happened recently. I think today or tomorrow is going to be the last day. Regardless of how you feel about Ariana Grande's music, or regardless of how you feel about Epic Games as a corporation and their implementation of Fortnite, this is fundamentally the coolest thing I've ever experienced in a video game. Like,
were you present for the Lil Nas X thing?
No, the Travis Scott one.
Oh, Travis Scott, yeah.
No, I caught the tail end of the Travis Scott one. I didn't get to experience it firsthand, and that was one of those things where like, this is really cool. So when I heard the Ariana Grande thing was leaked like a couple weeks ago, I'm like, I'm jumping back into Fortnite. I downloaded it on PC. About a couple of years ago, my PSN got hacked by a kid who wanted to play Fortnite, and so I jumped back on. I had a bunch of skins and shit that I did not pay for. That were just mine, and so W's in the chat. And so I sat down. I sat down for the conference. Not conference, the event, and immediately you're jumped into the pre-show, which is I don't know Ariana Grande's music. I don't know it at all. I'll point out, I also didn't know Travis Scott's music at all. Like, and my friends know this, I don't give a shit about music unless it's tied to an emotional event. So you put music in the trailer or something, I'll remember that song because of the trailer. But like, I'm not listening to the radio, I'm not paying attention to anything. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was like my last hurrah in terms of how much I give a shit about music. Kanye made the perfect album at that time. Nothing ever beat it. I'm moving on with my life. But to start off with this insane sort of like slide down bubblegum where you're collecting orbs and shit and speed up to the track and people are like dancing in the background like, oh, this is really cool. And then you cross through a waterfall and then suddenly you're in a shooter where you're on a plane shooting like the final boss from Kingdom Hearts Chernobyl or some bullshit.
Oh, wow.
It's actually an insane sequence that even tracks your score and everything.
So real quick, that bubble thing that you're talking about, it looks a lot like the Sonic minigame.
Yeah. In Between Worlds.
Yeah.
From there, you're dropped into what essentially is a brand new biome. The most interesting thing about this versus the Travis Scott one, outside of like, I think the underwater level and then the space flooding thing, they just reused the Fortnite map. This one, they built entirely new environments for this game, for this entire conference. Once you enter it, you're not on the Fortnite island anymore. Then you're on like a bouncy pillow world We were just bouncing up and down to the music. And that's when the actual Ariana concert shows up, where she shows up and starts doing her thing in like an ethereal space world thing. And I'm like, I'm enjoying this music. I'm enjoying this experience. I feel bad for her because this character model that they made of her is not going to have a good time going forward, because that's everything that happens with 3D models of games.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it goes forward, and then she evolves into her new form, and you're riding on a unicorn through space, following her, and then it gets to essentially Mount Olympus, where she's like climbing a mountain, and you're teleporting around her as she's climbing it, and then it gets to the final section where she's in like a crystal dimension, just emerging from a crystal shell, and I'm like, this is the fucking coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, just the breadth of everything that's going on. I'm not talking about the music or anything like that, because like from a fundamental design standpoint, comparing this to the Travis Scott version, this is a 10 out of 10. They fucking for Ariana's aesthetic, they have outdone themselves as a experience. And if Fortnite can maintain this, like do at least one of these a year going forward, like Fortnite is Ready Player One. Let's be clear. This is Ready Player One. And year after year, it's becoming more and more clear that that's the direction they're going. And if they keep doing things like this, it's going to have legs for days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor Second Life.
Poor Second Life. So like this is interesting because like you getting at the whole like Fortnite being Ready Player One, like that is what they're doing with the whole metaverse thing, right?
Yeah.
That's
I was so shocked when I jump in to see how different Fortnite has shifted.
Yeah.
Like now there are creator levels in the game. Mm-hmm. Well, like if you go into the main playlist, like they highlight a top 3 of what people have made in their actual like gameplay build mode stuff. And it's not just battle royales, it's escape rooms. It's essentially dreams, but with Fortnite models.
Mm-hmm.
That is very interesting, actually. You know what? I'll download Fortnite and check it out.
I'm just saying, we could have done the concert together. It wasn't that hard. Like I literally thought I wasn't going to get in. I literally thought I wasn't getting in, and then like it was super easy.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I might have to check that out then. And then Jordan, to wrap it up, what you been playing?
I have just finished Death's Door.
Ooh.
The last sequence of that was very sweaty. Like, you know, like the bridging, the sweat on your nose type thing going there, because those sequences are long. Like those boss sequences, they were not fucking around, and when you died, you get pushed all the way back. You have to like go to this hall of doors. But I tell you what, that game, what it does with music is what hooked me in terms of like the gravity of what you were doing and who you were facing. And of course, there was a pretty simple tongue-in-cheek humor attached to it. It was a beautifully written game. Like I don't see them making a Death's Door 2 or anything like that. But the music, the visuals, the combat, everything came together to a pretty satisfying experience. But those last 3 bosses, well, it wasn't the last 2 bosses, but the one before the last 2, that difficulty spiked. And that was sentiment shared by many people that played that game. Like that, they were doing shit that you were not prepared for. So it took me like maybe about 30, 40 minutes to get through that one. But other than that, I think this is possibly on my Game of the Year list. And if you can pick it up, I'm not trying to say it's beating any other games for now. There's still other games that to go through.
Like Genshin.
But well, for me, Psychonauts 2 and Forza. But we will see how this game, plays out when awards do come out, because many people have said positive things about Death's Door.
Yeah, it did get a lot of like positive press when it dropped, and people were just really excited to see
why
it.
I picked it up.
Yeah.
And also, I've been playing The Ascent. The Ascent's a bit of a mixed bag in terms of reviews, depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm enjoying it. One thing that I would want them to improve upon is the cover system. I wish it was a better, kind of the way Gears of War was in terms of their third-person cover system. Like actually having your character snap onto cover. This one does it. You kind of like get close to it, and then you're automatically able to do certain animations that allow you to continue to have your body protected while shooting over. So it's kind of like a a ragtag shooting element. Like it's pretty chaotic.
Mhm.
Not that much tactical. Is the
Yeah.
best way I can put it. But I tell you what, this game's visuals is amazing. Like the mist, the humidity, that's that you can like that's like the new style of visuals games are doing. The volumetric
Yeah.
atmospheric
Yeah.
that game does it amazingly well in terms of how the lower you get, the heavier the atmosphere becomes. You know, you can sense the smog and how lights can pierce through the mist, and it's a beautiful game. It's possibly one of the more beautiful games I played so far this year, right next to Ratchet and Clank. So yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it. Even though I'm playing it by myself, it's made to be played with other people.
Yeah.
I
heard
would
that
would say
the co-op experience is actually a really, really good experience.
yeah, if I was playing in co-op, I'd be having a blast right now. But you know, it's not too difficult. They had a few patches in that allowed people to change difficulty or reduce the amount of levels you are. Sorry, it allows for you to determine how more difficult enemies are depending which area you go to. Like you're not gonna be going 10, 20 levels above anymore. You can like flex it downwards. But yeah, I've had a good time with that game.
Awesome. And I'm pretty sure you're going to continue playing it, right?
Well, I'm glad Death's Door is off my plate. Now I can play this game in Hades when it comes out. Hades comes out later on this week.
Oh.
Ooh, no cross save. How dare you?
Awesome. Okay. With that being said, this has been another episode of Press X to Start podcast. Don't forget, this is a audio and video podcast, so you can catch it on our YouTube channel. If you go to pressx2start.com/YouTube, that's where our stuff is. In case you missed any of this, you can find all details and more on our website at pressx number 2. Why am I blanking on the website? Just go there. You know, I've done said it so many times. This website or this website, this podcast, do it. Make sure you rate and review us on your favorite podcasting apps, and like, share, and subscribe on your favorite YouTube channel. That's our channel. Yeah, do the thing. Be safe. Be respectful towards people. Don't do anything bad, and if you do, don't get caught. Yeah, that's it. You guys take care. Have fun.
All right, y'all.
Goodbye.